to housekeeping issues first. There's not a planned fire alarm test, so if if the alarms do go off, it is a fire, and the exits are via the way you came in and in this corner. Also, today's meeting will be filmed, and if anybody also wants to film it, they can do, as long as they don't interfere with the proceedings of the meeting. And just a reminder that this is a council meeting held in public, not a public meeting. What that means is that only councillors and designated speakers can actually speak. And other than that, could I now move to introduce our new interim planning officer, who's Simon Robury, who will be with us, hopefully guiding us over the next few months. And with that, I'll proceed into the meeting. And the first item is apologies for absence.
Chair, I've received apologies from Councillors Akhtar, Ibrahim, Jakes and Harkness, and we've got Councillors Cosgrove and Williamson being substitute members this evening.
Thank you. I've not been notified of any urgent business. Is there any declarations of interest? No, thank you. Public questions, I don't think we received any.
No, Chair.
Minutes of the previous meeting, could I move them as a correct record? Thank you. All agreed?
Agreed.
Right, and then we proceed to the first application, which we'll take in order this evening, and that's the Colbert Way, Fox Denton Lane application. And if I could ask the officers to outline the application.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This is a proposal for 2 industrial units in associated development on a site that's allocated for business and industry in the local plan. Full details of the proposal are set out on page 7 of the report. This is a site. It's located between Fox Denton Lane and the linear footpath that links the Rochdale Canal with Hunt Lane. There's existing industrial units to the west of the site, and Fox Denton strategic site is to the east. This is a proposed layout. It includes an extended access from Fox Denton Lane via Colbert Way. The larger unit would be on the west or the left on that image, and both units would have parking and servicing on the south side, with a little bit of extra servicing on the west side of the unit on the left. The watercourse that presently runs through the site would be largely retained and culverted where the new access road would cross it. And there'd be extensive areas of landscaping and a large curtilage to each unit. This is the larger of the 2 units with a maximum height of 15.75 metres. You can see the 4 elevations for that unit. This is the smaller of the 2 units with a maximum height of 13.5 metres to ridge, and again the 4 different elevations. These are the proposed sections through the site. The top section on the image cuts through the site east to west with the retained watercourse between the proposed units. The middle section cuts through Unit 2 with the retained embankment to the eastern boundary. And the image at the bottom shows a relationship between proposed Unit 2 and the nearest dwellings to the south on Fox Denton Lane. And what you'll note is an intervening embankment, raised embankment that will be landscaped. This is an aerial view of the site from the south, approximately indicated in red there. What you'll note is the extensive woodland, stand of woodland to the south, separating it from Fox Denton Lane. Colbert Way, the access into the site is on the left extremity, and the linear footpath goes across the top or the north of the site. And just there on the right is the Fox Denton strategic site. and that's just panning round looking from the west so that you get a better impression of its relationship with the Foxdenton strategic site. This is an image across the site from the northwest corner, a panoramic view looking across. You can see in the middle distance where the watercourse is, and then the stand of trees to the right, and then in the distance is the new housing that's being constructed presently on the Foxdenton strategic site. And then this is an image looking east along the linear footpath with the site on the right. And then this is an image looking east towards the site. The sites would be behind the trees there on the top left, and the access from Foxdenton Lane is indicated there with the red arrow. The principle of development is established by the allocation for business and industry in the local plan. Thereafter, the assessment in the report demonstrates that the application will be acceptable subject to 20 conditions that would ensure that any potential detrimental impacts will be appropriately mitigated. Furthermore, there'd be a financial contribution secured for improvements to the linear footpath that I showed you an image of to the north of the site. Therefore, the proposal is recommended for approval as set out in the report. Thank you.
Is there any questions in Councillor Hudson?
Note that the officers taken regard to Councillor McLaren's comments, and in the late list I take it that it's only the conditions that are altered and not the recommendation. Is that right?
Chair, yeah, that's correct. The only recommendation is to change the condition that was recommended by the Greater Manchester Archaeological Advisory Service. All the matters that are raised by Councillor McLaren are already dealt with through conditions.
In that case, Chairman, I'll move it.
Thank you. Councillor Brownring.
Thank you, Chair. Could I just have some clarification about traffic calming? Because it says in the report here that traffic calming is going to be introduced along Foxdenton Lane, and then in the late list it says traffic calming has been investigated and it's found not to be suitable. So I was a bit, if you could just clarify what and then can you confirm that anything that is being done is already costed, that the money's already in place to do it? Thank you.
So we're talking about two different sets of traffic calming. So I do apologise for the confusion because the late list relates directly to Councillor McLaren's email. So the traffic calming that's already in place is already accounted for financially will be on Foxdenton Lane, and that was done through the original application for the wider what I call the wider Foxdenton site. We have looked at further traffic calming just for this development and dealing with the effect of this development on its own, and we don't think we can do anything that would be effective or that is really needed. So they're the two different types of traffic calming.
I think just for everybody's clarity, we're talking about heavy goods vehicles under any circumstances not using Foxdenton Lane between the site and Broadway. Is that correct?
Between the wider Foxdenton site and Broadway, yes, on the residential stretch.
Has anybody else got any questions? It's been moved for approval by Councillor Hudson. I don't know whether we've got a seconder for that.
Seconded.
Seconded. All right. All those in favour of approval? Thanks very much indeed. That's approved. If we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is Church Terrace. One of the officers will outline the application.
Thank you, Chair. So the application is for 1 to 5 Church Terrace. Some of the committee may recognise the address, given that it was here in October for a very similar development for 2 residential apartments. However, the current proposal is to now create 4 over the first and second floors and retain the B2 use at ground floor other than the entrance, which we'll see on the plans that follow. The application site is there in edged red. I'm sure everyone's aware its location in the town centre near to the War Memorial. It is in the town centre conservation area, and the use of the Royal Bank of Scotland is obviously ceased. This is a recent site photo, just showing the break off the main route for Church Terrace. So this is the ground floor, which includes the entrance, and as you can see from the late list, they have dealt with cycle parking, and the rest of the ground floor isn't shown obviously because that's retaining its existing use. So this is the first floor, and on both floors there are one two-bed apartment for 4 people and one bed for 2 people. So that's the first floor, and that's the second floor. Oh, let's go back. As you're aware, the previous application was granted in October, so the principle for residential accommodation in the building is already established. The scheme is broken up into create 2 additional units. However, it still meets the housing standards, and that's clearly laid out in the report. We have the same conditions recommended from environmental health in terms of soundproofing, and we have attached conditions in relation to the waste storage, which was discussed by councillors when we discussed the previous application, which was approved, and we've also carried forward the restriction that it stays in U-Class C3 apartments and isn't allowed to change. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Has anybody got any questions at all?
Comment.
Or comments?
Yeah, I've got a comment.
Councillor Brownrigg.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think this is actually a more practical use of that premise. I was quite concerned about 2 very big apartments with no amenity space at all. So they would have potentially been family units without anywhere for children to go. So I think this is actually a better use of the space, that you've still got some good quality apartments, but practically more usable, I think.
Councillor Dip, no. Councillor Hudson.
I will second it. If Barbara's moving it, I'll second it, because I think we have to be realistic. I don't think this will ever come into retail use again or office space, and I think this would be the best thing to move people into the centre of Oldham. I think it's a good thing, and I think the applicant is to be commended.
In that case, Chair, I'm happy to move it.
Thank you. Well, it's already been seconded, so we're all right. Has anybody else got any comments or observations on it? Yes, Councillor.
Can I just ask what the ground floor will be used for? I can't remember and I can't find it in the report.
So the ground floor retains its existing use, which is financial services.
It's been moved and seconded, so all those in favour? Thank you. Nobody against? Unanimous. If we then can move on to the next item, which is land at Meek Street, Higginshire Lane.
Thank you, Chair. So this application relates to the erection of 1 warehouse building for use of storage and distribution, which is use class B8. It includes the associated parking and service areas. As you can see from the plan here, the application site is located on the corner of Higginshire Lane and Meek Street, and off my understanding and memory, it forms part of the old St Atkinson site and was the car parking for the employees there. Currently, it's noted in the report that it's used for the storage of heavy goods and vehicles. It's a tarmacked area surrounded by a 2-metre high boundary treatment at the moment. The application is, like I say, is for 1 warehouse building, which includes offices closest to Higginshire Lane, and then it's got 7 bays for heavy good vehicles, a general storage area at the end. It's got 9 car parking spaces and a forecourt area for the turning of the heavy goods vehicles. This plan shows the front elevation of the building, and it gives some indicative ideas of the materials. However, there is a materials condition on the recommendation. Here's the sort of 3D CAD perspectives of the building. As you can see, the materials will, in the main, following approval, would blend with the area, given that it's located in a business employment area where clad buildings are very common. This is an aerial view, and it shows to the left of the photo, the landscaping on Higginshire Lane, which would be retained, and obviously the access would come from the front of the building there. It's noted in the report that the principle is acceptable given that it's in a business employment area, and it's surrounded by similar uses, and there are no conditions recommended by Environment Health to control it in terms of operating hours. We have no objections from the highway team, and as such it is recommended for approval, subject to condition. Thank you, Chair.
Has anybody got initially any questions of the opposite? No. Councillor Cosgrove.
It looks like there is one.
So the entrance is there to come off Meek Street. No, because Holland Road is on the far left, and then you turn onto Meek Street. Just get back. So you can see there. Obviously, the landscaping bund sets it in.
Yeah. Okay. Has anybody got any comments? Councillor Hume.
Sorry. I suppose it's just about the times of operation or the kind of sound limits and stuff. Because unless I've gone, I can't quite see anything in the conditions like there was in the one in Foxdenton. So I was just wondering what the kind of limits there'll be to make sure that the amenity of the residents on on the lane isn't affected.
So as you can see from the plan here, the separation from residential units is 44 metres, and obviously there is a significant existing landscaping area. The site's orientated in a way that obviously it's gable on, so they've reduced the impact that way. Our Environmental Health section have considered the scheme, and they consider that it doesn't need to be conditioned in such a manner, given that this is an existing industrial site, or part of an existing industrial site that has already been used for industrial processes. It's in a business employment area, and as such the use there is appropriate, and obviously there will be comings and goings, and there aren't time restrictions and similar uses in that area.
Is there any other comments? If not, could I move approval? Is it seconded? Seconded. All those in favour? Right, thank you very much. That's approved unanimously. We then go on to the last item on the agenda today, which is appeals that we've received. I think there's only one. I don't know whether anybody's got any comment. No? We agree to receive it?
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay, and that ends the meeting. Wow. Short and sweet tonight.